Kevin, thanks for joining me here. I want to tell the story of how we met because I think it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It is funny. A buddy of mine, this was quite a while ago. He was at your house in Thousand Oaks, interviewing you for, I think it was like a health related topic. And you were telling him about how you had this incident with a chiropractor and hurt your back. And
A little bit more than that, but we can talk about that too.
yeah. He told me the full story, but it's funny because he had called me after the interview and he said, "Hey, do you know Kevin Sorbo?" I was like, "No, I mean, I know of him, but no, I don't know him." So fast forward, last year, an investor in a film that I did, John Bona, had called me.
Sure.
And he says, "Hey, do you know Kevin Sorbo?" I was like, "Well, I don't, but I know of him." He goes, "Yeah, we were just talking, and could be good for a future project, this and that and the other thing." And I said, "Yeah, let's definitely, and look at that." So then, fast forward a few more months, I go to this meeting on Palm Beach Island, and I don't know anybody. I sit down at a table, and this guy Steve sits next to me, and he introduces himself, and my phone alert went off, and he's like, "What's that?" and pointed out my phone. I thought that was kind of wild, and it had the logo on it for Vintage Gentleman. I said, "Oh, you mean Vintage Gentleman?" He reads it. He goes, "Vintage Gentleman, reviving old school masculinity." Ooh, do you know Kevin Sorbo? I said, "I'm starting to think I should know him." But no, I haven't met. He goes, "Ooh, he's got to hear about this Vintage Gentleman." So this is where it gets really wild.
Okay.
My son goes to Paris. He's got a job. He doesn't know anybody there. Goes by himself. Proud of him for that. Goes out to dinner with his agent and meets this other young man his age. They start talking. They talk about, Los Angeles. Elijah was born in Los Angeles. They talk about homeschool programs. Oh, they went to the same homeschooling program, Classical Conversations. Then they talk about Florida. Oh, I'm in Wellington. I'm in Jupiter. And then they talk about their dads being in the entertainment industry. And it turns out it's your son, Shane.
Yeah.
So I get this text from my son. Now, I don't know that happened. I get a text one morning and it just says, "Do you know Kevin Sorbo?" And I was like,
it's time.
Okay. I've heard of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but I didn't know 6 Degrees of Kevin Sorbo existed. So anyway, he told me that story when I texted him. I was kind of blown away. It turns out you and I have run around really kind of the same circles out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Know some of the same people, been to some of the same parties and never met. So fast forward, here we are, sitting here. I'm interviewing a vintage gentleman on Vintage Gentleman. So again, thanks for joining me here.
I'm glad we work it out. It's been you're busy, I'm busy, but we're able to get this bit in right now.
Absolutely. So I don't want to make your whole career about Hercules, although I want to start there. I mean, you're an actor,
Sure.
You're a producer, you're a director. You've done a lot more before and since. So but I want to start with Hercules because of the character, this mythological character. Obviously a hero and a role model, brave and valor and wisdom, and fought ferocious animals and monsters, and the hero concept. Which also, exemplifies this idea of masculinity and manhood. Unfortunately, today, I don't know if the Hercules would be as praised as he was back then. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about your experience playing that character, being able to fight ferocious animals and monsters. What was that like?
Well, it was amazing, obviously. I mean, initially it was going to be just 5 2-hour movies down in New Zealand, 10 weeks in each movie. So it was a full year down there. When I first got the call from my agent, I said, okay, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", I was 220, but I'm not a steroid 295-pound dude. And they said, no, they want a guy that's more athletic, more NFL quarterback or decathlon. I said, okay. So first casting, pretty much, I saw a bunch of athletic guys in there, guys like you and I just hanging out there. And so I went back a second time, a third time, 7 times. I had 6 callbacks. So 7 times they saw me. I found out later they auditioned 2,800 actors in all of North America, basically. I get the role. I go down there. Anthony Quinn plays Zeus. I know there's probably people watching. Who's Anthony Quinn? Shame on you for not knowing Anthony Quinn. Great classic from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. 6 times Academy Award nomination, twice won Lawrence of Arabia, Guns of Navarone, Zorba the Greek, all these great movies. He played Zeus. And by movie 3, Universal called up and said, we like this. We don't think there's anything like it on TV. You're going to stay down there and keep doing the series. Well, by season 3, we become the most watched TV show in the world.
Amazing.
176 countries. It was amazing. And as Hollywood does, they copy anything that's successful. So by my season 3, Sinbad comes out, Tarzan, Conan, Robin Hood, all these other copycat shows come out. But without that show, I wouldn't have the career that has followed. I ended up doing that 7 years, 5 years in Andromeda. But to play that character, what I liked about it, they put a lot of morality in it. It's mythological, but I got letters from all over the world, from all these different countries. And it was amazing how it touched people. There's a lot of humor in it. And which I remember telling Sam Raimi, our exec producer. Sam Raimi did all the Evil Dead movies. He directed the first couple Spider-Mans and stuff. And I said, Sam, we got to make sure we keep doing what you're kind of known for, your campy humor, because this is a show that people can laugh at it so easily. We want people to laugh with us. And even they put good messages in there. They always had a lot of humor. The fight scenes were never violent. You know, I'd throw a guy through a bar wall, it'd be a cut out of his body through the bar or something. And and I think that's what really caught on to people and really made them love it. But he was a masculine guy. And I remember getting letters from kids, from orphans. I mean, people are saying, you make me not want to fight and get angry all the time. You make me want to tell people, no, we don't need to fight. We can talk about this. Because he never went out looking for fights. He was always forced into it. So I look at that sort of a guy going, you're not wrong. If they did it today, they'd probably make him female or they'd make him a transgender. They would do something because that's just what they have to do. I mean, I've got a lot of friends writing scripts, and the reports they get back from the studios and networks is, can we make this person gay or can we make this person transgender? They're going, but that's not what the story's about. But it's like they got to push it every single thing now. And I think, Disney is learning that people are tired of it. I mean, I think they lost more than this, but I read it's 1.4 billion now in losses. But I think it's probably more than that. They just don't want to show how bad it's gotten. And how long you keep doing that and keep a business going, I have no idea.
Well, I think it's what you're talking about as far as the way that Hercules was written. It's the best kind of story, isn't it? It's kind of the good overcoming evil story. And I think that attracts people. Can you speak to that?
That's Hollywood used to do, right? I mean, they used to always put movies out there that John Wayne movies. It was always the good guy beating the bad guy. Well, the 60s sort of changed everything with, you had the Vietnam War, you had the assassinations of Kennedy and RFK, his brother, and Martin Luther, the hippie movement, all this stuff, rock and roll exploding. And I like rock and roll, so I'm not bashing rock and roll, but I am bashing war. But anyway, it was, I think Hollywood started celebrating the anti-hero. They started getting more negative with their movies. And it's just gotten worse and worse. I mean, you homeschooled, and why do you homeschool? Because our public education system sucks. Yeah. You see what's been going on now from kindergarten through universities. I think it really started in universities and just worked its way down to every grade now. I didn't have that when I was in college. All my business teachers, they taught their business classes. They didn't tell me to vote. They didn't talk about changing your sex. They didn't talk about, hating this person or hating that person. They taught what they're supposed to teach. When Bill Maher comes out, because you've seen the changes in him over the last couple of years, I think JFK Democrat is what he is. He doesn't like what's going on with his party either. He said, don't send your kids to American universities. Yeah. That's coming from Bill Maher. Yeah. And we've always agreed with that. My kids aren't going to college. Yeah. They don't need it. You don't need it. Yeah. And until the schools wake up and get better, I mean, there's some good colleges out there, let's face it, but most of them are crap. And I would not waste my money on it. I just did a movie with this girl, had 2 scenes with me. 21 years old, senior in college. So during one of the breaks, they're setting up the scene. And I said, so what are you studying in college? She said, gender studies. I went, excuse me? And I said, gender studies? She goes, how quick is that class? $200,000. Male, female, done. There you go. I mean, what are you going to do with that? Yeah. What are you going to do with a degree like that besides serving people cappuccinos or whatever at Starbucks after she gets out of college? Yeah. Shame on her parents for allowing you to get a degree like that. Get a real degree or don't go to college. It's a waste of time. Well, home education has become a whole different topic now. Like back when you and I started doing it, I mean,
in Los Angeles, we had to form our own school. I had to have
Yeah,
a full-time lawyer on staff, not staff, but we had on retainer.
sure.
And then there was really no support vehicle there. We were in Burbank at the time, and there was a school in the valley that was a Christian school that it was the only place we could find that would offer any classes in it. And we were the first
Mm,
and only family in the school doing homeschooling. So it
wow.
was one class that my kids got to go to because we wanted them to integrate them socially. And
Sure.
but there was no athletic programs. There was no other extracurricular
Well,
activity.
we were in Ventura County, which had a little different. It was a little more organized with it. And it was bigger because
Yeah.
that,
Well, you had
Ventura
Oaks
County
out
is
there
more like
too.
50-50 politically.
Yeah.
It's not like 95% in
Yeah.
LA County. And they were able to play sports. They were able to, the church was open to us coming there. But for them, it worked out pretty well,
Yeah.
and it was good. My wife is a homeschool advocate. She travels the country. In fact, you should have her on your program.
Absolutely.
She just got back she just did Phoenix at Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
She did an event in Kansas City, and then she did something in LA. So she's been bouncing around. And I always tell people go to sorbostudios.com. They can sign up there, sorbostudios.com. A lot of stuff coming on the pipeline. It's both of our sites are merged together. And it's been good. And I love how people say, well, how do you get the social aspect for my kids? Is like your kids are so great with. I mean, they're adults at a young age because they're around adults more and they're influenced by adults more in a positive way, not a negative way. So I laugh at this whole idea that they think that they're not social.
Oh yeah.
I go, well, they're not bullies if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're not in the public schools putting up with the crap of what they're doing there, but.
Well,
My
especially
kids are
today.
awesome.
Especially today.
Yeah.
There's
You brought up COVID earlier.
Yeah.
COVID was a blessing because 2 million more families, 2 million more are now homeschooling because they looked at the public schools and they looked at the school boards and the insanity of what's going on and said, honey, maybe we shouldn't use this as a babysitting service. Maybe we should actually give our kids a real education. So thank God for COVID. That was the only good thing that came out of it. Everything else was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, Florida was good that came out of it for us
Yes.
during COVID. So and Florida really was early adapter, I think, with homeschooling as well. The programs here, I mean, when we got here, the kids were like doing athletics with a former NFL football player, like they were going next level here. But back to Hercules. What do you think, attracted that character to both men and women alike?
I think because he was a man's man, but he was humble. He was funny. He was an easy person to deal with and talk with. And I think because he represented, even though he lost his family in the series, they were all killed by Hera, of course. But he was a guy that was great with kids. He represented a strong man, a pillar for the community. And I think that's something we're missing in America right now. And Peter Weir is a director of Australia, and he did a documentary back in like 2005 when it was saying there are no masculine men left in America.
Mm.
And, I think you would take a little umbrage to that, as I did too. But I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because we have had this whole thing about just bashing men over and over and over again. We've done it in sitcoms for decades now, where the dad is kind of fat, out of shape, dorky. Mom is good looking. The teenage kids just make fun of dad. So we're teaching kids for 40 years now, these sitcoms, that the father's he's not that important to the family. Well, Of course he is. And I'm seeing more and more now on these, because my sons let me see some of these TikTok things or whatever, where these 21, 22-year-old girls, even older women, are saying, I don't want to date guys that are conservatives and that are Republicans, but my gosh, they'll open my door for me. I mean, they talk about how wimpy men on the left are. And as a whole, yeah, they kind of are. I mean, look at who they make our heroes right now. And there's some pretty beefy guys, but you don't have to be a muscular guy to be a hero.
Yeah, right.
You just got to be someone who's not afraid to stand up against the ridiculousness of the world. And I think what Hercules did was, I got I'd get a lot of letters from men too, saying, you know what, this is awesome what you're doing. My family loves it. I get a letter from the editor of TV Guide at that time saying this is the only show we watch together as a family because we trust it. We know it's great and it's funny and it's got good messages. I'll get women that, you know, before I was married, often they wanted me to marry them. I got some very interesting letters and photos from people through those years. Some got upset when I actually did get married. By season 5, I got married to my wife now. And they said, well, I hope people still watch your show now. It's kind of like, wait, you thought you had a chance? I don't know you.
Exactly. That's hilarious.
It's so weird. But I think I think we're looking for that again. I think people are tired of it, and they're looking for somebody that you want. The parents are different. You know, the mom has a role, the dad has a role. There's some commonality there, but for the most part, we're different creatures. And I looked at my 2 little boys growing up. They would build something really cool and then just destroy it. You know, and then my daughter would build something and she wants to put a barrier around it. Don't touch this thing, you know? So there is a difference between us. And I'm not saying we destroy stuff, but we are different. Don't tell me we want an army of just women, because we don't. And I think most women, without their ego getting in the way, would agree. They'd rather have the men be the hunters than them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to show real quick. I wrote a book called Brave Books. It's Brave Books. It's called The Test of Linehood. And this is with the Brave Book people that Kirk Cameron got a lot of crap last year because public libraries didn't want him to come in to read his children's book to 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds. But the public libraries that you and I pay for with our tax dollars, we're very happy with drag queens coming in and read to 7-year-olds. It's insanity. Like, Kirk Cameron's a very scary person. Come on. So I started talking about the emasculation of our country, and they came to me. And this book, go to bravebooks.com. It's a wonderful story about Lucas the lion cub. He goes out in the woods with his 2 little sisters. They're playing out there like they normally do, but they get a little too far away from home, and his sister gets cut by a plant that's going to kill her. He's aware of this because his father taught him about the dangers of the forest. He knows he's got to go to this mountain to get the certain flower that's going to save her life. Well, he's got to get past his own insecurities. He's got to find his own courage to fight all these obstacles in front of him, and he does it. And it's just a wonderful story about let kids be kids, let little boys grow up to be strong men, strong leaders, strong fathers, strong pillars in their community instead of going after them. The alphabet crowd went crazy, of course. And I said, look, I'm not anti anything. I'm just pro-child.
Yeah.
A 5-year-old kid doesn't decide he wants to cut his penis off because he puts on his mom's dress. He's playing around. It becomes 18 and older. I say 18 because if you're old enough to carry a gun and get killed from our country, you want to cut off your penis, go for it. Look, I know Bruce Jenner. He waited until he was 60, okay?
Yeah.
So let kids get old enough to make a decision for themselves, period. That's all really my book is about, is that we need masculine men to create a society that's still safe. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect our loved ones. It's simple as that.
We grow up as men, we hear certain character traits that we're supposed to have, and
right.
And who we're supposed to be, and we're like, there's not a one size fits all. So, you know, with manhood, it's kind of like an onion. You peel it apart. I have different interests and likes than maybe somebody else. I might be stronger in some ways than others. But then there's the idea of like the winning and losing aspect of manhood. A lot of people want to just be winners. You see it all in social media. They talk about it all the time, winning, but there's not a lot of conversation about the losing part of that. And even Hercules in the mythology, he didn't always win. He had some great losses in his life. So when it comes to winning and losing, how do you say that, you know, really plays into making a well-rounded man?
You know, I used to caddy. I'm the 4th of 5 kids. My dad was a school teacher. How he raised 5 kids on a teacher's salary, public school teacher's salary, I have no idea. My mom's a nurse, but became a stay-at-home mom with 5 kids. My parents were great. My dad passed away 11 years ago now, but he was the best man at my wedding. I've been taking care of my parents the last 20 plus years. My mom's now 91 years old. But my dad taught all of us, and they each had their roles, and I learned from both of them. But my dad was always about hard work. Don't expect handouts. Don't expect, you work your way through life. So all 5 of his kids are very strong-willed and work hard. I started paper out when I was 9. I lived in Minnesota 6 days a week at 4:30 in the morning for 7 years, from 9 until I was 16. I got up 4:30 in the morning through Minnesota winters, 20 below zero, delivering 80 newspapers every day. I learned what hard work was. I got a job during college. My first year in college, I got a job as a caddy. I love golf. I caddied at this private country club just outside of Minneapolis. All wealthy people, all wealthy. And I remember these guys I would caddy for. It was always different guys because they fought for me because I'm a good golfer, and they wanted me because I knew the game. And every one of them, I said, "How do you become successful?" Without any exception, they all said, "Oh, I failed, Kevin." And then I failed again. Oh, by the way, I kept failing for 10 more years. But they taught me that failure is a positive. No is a positive. And you got to take the positive. There's always going to be negative in that failure, but you got to say, okay, that didn't work because of that, but these things still work. Bring those along with you. When I got out to Hollywood, I learned very quickly, there's a lot of failure, a lot of rejection. You don't just walk into Universal and say, "I'm here. Is there a job?" Well, yeah, we got a job down in Universal Studios in New Zealand. Do you want that one? No, you go through a lot of rejection, but I use that rejection as a positive. And one of my buddies before I left said, "Sorbs, it's called show business, not show." I had a double degree in business. And I said, "That's right." And I treat it as a business. And I busted my butt. I remember my agent telling me one time, because I had the breakdown service. I said, "Hey, I'm right for this role. Why didn't you?" "Kevin, I got 100 other clients." I said, "I don't give a crap about your other clients. Do you think they care about me? Let me in the room. Let me have the chance to be rejected." That was my mantra. And I'll tell you something. I never had to work another job in LA. I never had to bartend, wait tables, bounce, anything. I shot over 100 commercials during my years in LA. And residuals are the actor's favorite word.
Oh, yeah.
I did very well. I was very lucky to get a rent control apartment in Santa Monica, right in the Venice border. Gold's Gym was right there. That was my other office. And the bike path all the way down to Manhattan Beach and back was also my office. And I'm telling you, I got to the point that if they didn't pick me, it's their loss. And that perpetuated me, not in a cocky way, but just I still had more rejections than jobs, but I still worked all the time. And I learned that failure is a positive thing. And too many people in this world, in this time now, if they're not famous right away or successful right away, they just give up. And I think apathy is the biggest killer out there. And people need to just, you got to look in the mirror and go, "That's where it is." Cue Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. That's where the problem is. And you got to, what? The roadblocks are always going to happen in life. How do you react to those? You can blame the world, blame God you don't believe in, whatever. But the reality is you got to bust your butt. No one's going to hand anything to you. You got to earn it. But we live in a society now where people just want to be taken care of.
It starts with identity. Like, who do you tell yourself that you are? You had an identity of a hard worker, and therefore you brought that into your career choice and your vocation, which became your purpose. And you're still here today, driven by that purpose to do better things, to leave the world a better place, to move the needle culturally. And we've seen a huge shift in culture from the time that you played Hercules until now.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right?
I would, again, go back 10, 12 years, but the last 5 years, 6 years, you're like going, really? If they told me this back in 2018, I would have said, "Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's not possible." But, for me, the biggest shift for me came in 2010. That I did a movie called What If. It was my first really unapologetically faith-based movie. And Dallas Jenkins directed it. And he's now doing a thing called The Chosen, which is quite big around the world. But I've shot over 80 movies, and that's in my top 3. And a lot of people don't know about it because, it's a $2 million movie. We don't have a $100 million advertising budget like they do for these Hollywood movies and these big budget blockbusters. So how do you get the word out there? It's got to be word of mouth. Well, a couple years later, I did a movie called God's Not Dead. Same writers, same company, Pureflix. $2 million budget makes $140 million worldwide. And that was word of mouth. And that's the kind of movies I want to put out there. It doesn't have to be faith-based. It just has to be a movie that's got redemption and hope, because people have given up. People don't know what to do, and the sheep are going to be sheep. And I'm here to wake up the lions like you're doing with your podcast.
We're in a career that we can put out content and hopefully, talk to people and show them what's really happening out there. I mean, it's been really great to watch your life and career. I mean, starting off as a model, an actor, producer, director. It's been a pretty great career. I mean, Hollywood, I remember somebody saying to me one time, Hollywood's evil. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I can I mean, just off the top of my head, describe Hollywood as three different things: a geographic location, it's an art form, it's a people group. Like what's evil? You know, it's not, those things aren't evil in and of themselves, because I'm in Hollywood and I don't think I'm evil.
Yeah.
Anything that you can do to put out content that has positive messaging can change the tides of that. And now, especially more than ever, we're what they're calling, you know, the golden age of distribution. Like, we're no longer in need of, you know, studios backing and distribution. We can create content like this and upload it and put it out ourselves and hope people see it. You know, with your experience in your life and career, you've been able to provide for your family through your gifts and talents, and you're still doing that. What's it like being in Hollywood, being a husband and father, and then filling those roles of protector and provider?
Well, you know, my agent called me in, and my manager, like a intervention, you know, over a decade ago. And they said, we can't work with you anymore because of the things you're posting. Well, what do you mean? What am I posting? Well, you can tell that you're conservative until you're Christian. I'm going, so what? What's wrong with that? You know, I mean, Hollywood started by conservatives. The Warner Brothers, Warner Studios, those guys were full on conservatives. But Hollywood, like I said, kept shifting through the 60s. But I just thought that was kind of funny. I guess I should have got mad on one hand, but on the other hand, I said, you're the guys that are always screaming for tolerance, you know, freedom of speech. But we both know that they're hypocrites, and it's a one-way street with them. I'm not allowed to have an opposing point of view. But to me, it was like, okay, I love the industry. Is it evil? There's a lot of evil about it too, but there's a lot of good about it. Just like the internet. The internet's the Wild West. There's some great things about it, but there's a lot of crap about it too. And unfortunately, people use it as a way to vent and be angry because they hate their own world and their own lives.
Yeah.
But I don't harbor that kind of hatred towards people on the left. I really don't. I'd love to have a civil conversation, but they think if they can yell louder, they've won the conversation. But you know, their way of usually arguing is saying, you're wrong. They don't tell me I'm wrong. They say, you're wrong, and walk away. But to me, it lets me to me, this has been my mission, to put out movies that Hollywood used to put out. Like I said, movies that used to have hope and love and redemption and faith. When I say faith, you don't have to look. Blind Side, perfect example of a movie that walked the fine line.
Yep.
Christian movie? No. If you're on this side, you go, no, it's a sports movie. But the message was still in there, wasn't it? That's what's great about movies like that. Have I done straight faith movies? Sure I have. But I've done other movies like Miracle in East Texas, which came out recently, which I think I'm going to pop that up there. It's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. Miracle in East Texas, true story. You got it right there. Set in 1930, about the largest oil find in the history of the world. It's got a faith element to it, but really it's a comedy. It's a true story. And it's a story about redemption. And and people ask me at the end of the movie, go, come on, did that really happen at that church? And that guy really turned into, I go, yeah, that's all true. It's a true story. And so I love stuff like that. It can be used as an educational tool in a positive way, but unfortunately, too many people use negative. And I think the reason Hollywood's getting the bashing is because people are tired of the content they're putting out there. That, you know, we celebrate this violence and over-sexualization and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like going, why wouldn't you want to, I'm not telling them don't make those movies, but make more movies like you used to. Make more movies that will fill the theaters with families. Why are you ignoring that audience? And why are you just catering to this really crowd that wants to just see violence all the time? It's just, the logic out there is just so weird to me.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned family. I mean, families are vital for society to flourish, right? So, but as a man, we're told to be the head of the household. So how does that play out? What does that mean to you?
Well, men got to step up. I think we've been cowed. We've been told, oh, don't do this, don't do that. And I get people all the time telling me, well, I don't want to say this, I don't want to say that. People get mad. I go, you don't want to say the truth? Really? Every movie I've been doing the last 6 or 7 years, easily the last 6, 7 years, I get one person or more privately coming up to me on the set saying, hey, thanks for being a voice for us. And on one hand, I take it as a compliment. On the other hand, I go, dude, be a voice for yourself.
When did you make your way to Florida?
Over 5 years ago. All right, We've been coming out for years. Right. I had 2 brothers living out here. My wife's sister lives in Tampa. We spent the first year in Tampa. We thought we'd end up on the Gulf side. My wife said, I just want to go over there and try it, check it out. And I said, okay. So we rented a home for about 8 months here. And within the second month, we found a house, and we've been here since, and we love it.
And you love golf, and you're in Florida. I mean, does it get
I
any better
love
than
golf.
that?
I'm a golf nut. My dad's my dad. My dad worked summer. He's got to work summers when school's out. So for those 3.5 months, he was working at a golf course. Had all of his kids. Eventually, when we got a little older, we're mowing the greens and the fairways and stuff. So
Our friend Steve, your neighbor, asked me to ask you if you ever had a hole in one.
I just had my 10th in September. Just had my 10th. I've golfed with Steve twice at his course.
Yeah.
I think he came to my course once too, but yeah, he's just like 3 blocks down the road from me or where we live. And he's a good golfer. His son's a good golfer. And yeah, I just had my 10th recently, which is pretty cool. I got 3 with playing with pros, playing at a PGA Pro-Am event.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty fun.
odds.
I got one with BJ Singh at number 17 at Pebble Beach. It was people know that course. They know how famous that hole is. That was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So in the past, you and I talked about, Hercules and Comic-Con, and then you had mentioned Rise Up Con as well. Like, tell me, you're still in that circuit, right? Doing those things?
You know what's interesting about these Comic-Cons? They're run by a bunch of liberals, and a lot of them are now banishing me.
Oh.
Or if they're not liberal and they're like-minded, so to speak, they call them and say, well, we got about 10 emails from people saying they don't want you to be here. I go, you're having 50,000 people at con, and you're going to let 10 people decide if I can I can come there to sign autographs or fans or not? I said, you grow a set, man. This is crazy. This is just nuts. I still get invited. I don't do nearly as many as I used to because of the woke world right now, which is just sad to me. Those people that hate me, they're not going to come up to my table and ask for an autograph. That's fine, But I just thought, yeah, that's too bad. But the ones I've been doing the last 4 or 5 years, people come up to my table and say, we came here only to meet you. And we love what you're doing with your family movies. So now it's not just Hercules photos or Andromeda photos, right? That series 5 years, or guest stars on Supergirl or whatever. Half of mine are 8x10s from God's Not Dead, What If, Let There Be Light, Soul Surfer, shot of Bethany Hamilton and I together on the set. And I said, wow, why don't we do a con that caters just the family? So this is sort of a faith and family con. People go to riseupcon.com. That's riseupcon for convention.com and check it out.
Do you think you're doing more work now as an independent filmmaker than you did when you were in the Hollywood system?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been shooting at least 5 movies a year for the last 10 years. It's interesting. A lot of independent producers are calling me now directly. And what's also interesting, I'm getting a lot of, through sorbostudios.com, a lot of, I'm not going to name names, but big name DPs, camera guys saying, you know what? I do these $300 million movies, but I hate the content of what we're doing. I'm a Christian. I would love to work with you. And I'm going, dude, I do like $3 million budgets. And we got to fight our butts off just to raise $3 million. And, he says, no, I don't care. I want to do movies got good messages. I don't want my kids down the road to go, Dad, why did you keep doing these kind of movies and not that kind of movie, And so it's pretty interesting to see the response coming out of Hollywood. So I know there's a tipping point happening.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seems like there's been a pendulum swing, and it feels like it's coming back a bit.
I've got an amazing story, animated story. We're trying to raise $30 million for it. But we've got 2 Disney guys that worked on all the big Disney animation projects who've left. They've deserted and opened their own, and I'm working with them to get this thing funded and get it out there. So it's kind of exciting.
Did you ever work with Rick Dempsey at Disney? He was
I know Rick. I never worked with him, but I know I certainly know Rick.
Really good friend of mine. He texted me several months ago, and he's like, I can't do it anymore, Dwayne. I'm going to retire early. He's like, I can't be a part of it anymore. Like,
well, I knew him from North Ranch Country Club. He was a member at the same golf course I was at out there in Westlake. Yeah. So we know each other. We golfed him once or twice, but we didn't really hang out a lot and stuff like that. But it's funny you mentioned names because I don't think I've thought of his name in 6-7 years. So maybe I'll give him a buzz. I just checked now to make sure I still got his information, and I do.
Yeah, you should reach out. He's I don't know what he's doing today, but yeah, it's happening where people are.
So he's ready to do something different or just get out.
He's done. He's already retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
He left. Yeah.
It's exhausting. It's interesting, I'm at the big 6-0 club now too, which is weird. And I got my buddies retiring and I'm going, Clint Eastwood's my hero. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep going until I'm in my 90s. I'm not ready to slow down.
Yeah, no, I don't think I want to retire either.
No.
I had a bit of a shift in thinking in recent years. The last 5 years, I was mostly just producing and directing commercials and short form documentaries for some of the bigger brands like Godiva chocolate or AT&T or
Sure.
Panasonic and stuff like that. And I started thinking, about my kids. A friend of mine, younger guy, had a heart attack. His wife and kids had a heart attack, and his heart didn't fare well. So he was dying, and to the point where he had to say goodbye to his wife and kids. He was on hold for a heart transplant, and that really rocked me. I was thinking, man, can you imagine having to say goodbye to your family and wait? You don't know if the next minute, the next day, you're gonna live because you're waiting for a heart. And that kind of hit me pretty hard, and I started thinking about legacy. I was like, I don't want to be on my deathbed and point to some of these commercials I've been producing. I want to produce stuff that has meaning, and like you're talking about, has redemptive qualities to it. And so that's part of what this community of vintage gentlemen is about, is bringing men together to become better men. Us collectively bringing our gifts and talents to one area where I might lack in one area you might excel in. I could learn from you. Or somebody might be good at finance and another person might be good at construction. I can learn from them and become a more well-rounded person. So as a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a friend, like what can we do as a community to shift culture back to a place of moving back to some traditional value system and character traits so that we can move forward as a society.
Good. I love it. I love it. In fact, how I met some of these other guys in town here was some of these men's groups that they have out in Palm Beach area.
Yeah.
And
that's where I met Steve.
I love that they're doing that. And I try to make when I can. I travel a lot. I got a lot. The next 2 months are going to be crazy from good. It's a good crazy, and I realize I do it to myself. But that fire inside of me hasn't slowed down. I mean, I'm still that 20-year-old guy out there catting for these guys.
Yeah.
And I want to know, and I want to get out there and keep doing stuff because I have zero interest in slowing down because I still love what I do. As much as I hate the crap of Hollywood and the politics of Hollywood, I still love that creative process. I love being on the set. I love working with people on both sides of the camera. And I started directing back in Hercules. I mean, I've had my DGA card since 1996. So it's been a part. I've been SAG since 1982. I tell people I started when I was 4 years old. But it blows my mind. I don't know who said this because it's not me, but it makes total sense. And I think anybody, when they hit even 25, I started noticing years go by, it said, the days are slow, but the years are fast. And it makes total sense because it's just weird when there's a Dan Fogelberg sign that says the lines of life are never long when looked at from end to end. And it's true. It's just like, boom. And I got a script I read this morning and I wept. It brought me to tears. I read the book. The guy who wrote the book, I sent it to a writer that I'm very good friends with. Howie Klausner, Howie wrote the movie. I did a movie with Amy Grant years ago called The Secret Handshake, coming of age, a very funny comedy. And then I did the Reagan movie recently that Howie wrote with Dennis Quaid. The script that he wrote, I wrote him back this morning and I said, dude, I laughed, I wept. I said, I have to be part of this movie somehow. And it's about that realization. It's about a guy after retiring at the age of 60. He's had everything. He's been ridiculous. He's very wealthy, and he's looking forward to 30 years with his wife now, just to spend more time with that and his family. And he finds out he has cancer, and he knows his timeline is that 1 year. It's that Tim McGraw song, "Live Like You're Dying." And it's just it's so well written, so well written. My concern is they're going to want to go bigger budget and get, get a much bigger name than me to play the lead role in it, which has happened in other movies before. So, but you know, they came to me with it, so I'm still going to fight for myself to have that lead role in it. But there's just, it's so many good characters, and most scripts I can't get past 20 pages, and like now I'm done. And this one, I just kept reading and kept reading, you know. And it was this morning, I just popped it on. I'm a 4:30, 5 o'clock without the alarm. I just get up early. I've always, you know, 6 hours of sleep. That's all I need, and I'm ready to go. And I usually put on the Golf Channel, or I put on the news just to catch up. I didn't. I just opened it up, started reading, and I just sat there and just read those 110 pages. Just went by, and it was awesome, awesome. And it's funny, we're talking. He's just called here now, the writer. So
Oh, yeah?
I know they want to set up some kind of meeting here. With a couple potential funders next week. So
That's good, man. Well, that story definitely resonates. I mean, it seems like it goes faster and faster too.
Yeah.
The older you get, the time
It
just
does.
clicks
You know?
by. But I'm like you, I don't want to retire.
No.
But I do see a lot in the rearview mirror now, you know, things that I want to do better with.
Sure.
You know, time is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing about, you know, we can talk about manhood all day long and what it takes to be a man, but it takes some discipline too, you know, be a good leader.
Oh yeah. No question. No question. But it starts at home too. You know, I had a great father, and I think unfortunately, you look at the 80% of Black kids raised by a mother or a grandmother, no father in sight. Why did that happen? Why did the Black community over the last 6 years switch from being the community that stayed together better than any other family to become the opposite? You can blame the 1964, you know, Welfare Reform Act by President Johnson, where they said, we'll pay all you single moms, we'll give you this much money for each kid. Well, it created a job for them. And then it became commonplace, 3 generations now, having 5 kids from 5 different guys before they're 28 years old.
Do you know John Maples? I don't know if you met John at that Palm Beach. So you know, he's a city councilman, but he's running for Senate eventually, and that's his whole platform. He's advocating for fathers, specifically in the Black community, because you know, we need to address that. He's doing the efforts to do that. So yeah.
But what, you know, we need to do it. We don't do it. You know, do you know Jack Brewer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he played for my Vikings. He lives here in Florida, and he goes into these prisons to preach the word of God to these guys. And he said they're all raised without a father.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's really cool about the book too, The Test of Lionhood. You know,
check it out. If you want, if families out there, you want an autographed copy, go to bravebooks.com. Bravebooks.com. Sorbo Studios has a lot of stuff too. Sorbostudios.com, but Brave Books is great. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Have a great one.
You too, buddy.
Take care.